Witches and cats. Am I right? I believe everyone, including witches, but everyone either really genuinely loves cats or they hate them. And I would wager that everybody watching this video right now really actually knows one person who is allergic to cats. If you know, you know what I'm talking about. But my son in law is truly allergic to cats. And about 30 years ago, when he was young, he and my daughter were young and he was courting her, he spent many, many, many hours in the room where our family TV was, with a box of tissues on one side of him and my daughter with her 6 cats on the other side. And the poor man would sniffle and sneeze, and his eyes would water, and he'd blow his nose and blow his nose. And he would say, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'll just take a pill." Well, he did marry my daughter, and he grew to love cats. And I believe that he actually now considers cats to be an essential family pet. But witches, even if they do not own one, they generally consider cats to be very magical. Are they? I do, but maybe not quite in the way you might think. Cat's eyes have long held a fascination due to their shape of their eye and the color of their eye. It is often believed that they can see in the pitch darkness, which is, I'm sorry to say, a misconception. But it is accurate to say that they have an advantage over humans in very low light. They have a vertical slit you can normally see in cat's eye, which allows them to control how much light is brought into their eye, which makes them very effective to be hunters at nighttime. And in the wild or outside cats, when your cat wants outside at night, it's not to look at the moon. The cat wants outside because it wants to hunt. And the cat's eye allows them to see enough that they can recognize the movement of prey. Their eyes also have a special layer behind the retina that enhances their night vision, but it reflects the light that comes into the eye, it reflects it back, so they're able to see better. They have a higher concentration of rods, some technical thing that's in the eye, that allows them to see in these low light conditions. They rely more on their ability to see in low light and detect the movement. And one way we know this to be true without any of the research, if you sleep with any cats or you have ever slept with any cats on your bed and have experienced you were sleeping very soundly and all at once, maybe you wiggle your toes a little bit, a cat pounces on your feet that are underneath the blanket, totally comfortable with that little bit of movement that you do. Okay, they're attacking what they don't know is under the covers. They should know it's your toes because you're screaming, but they don't appear to, or they don't appear to care. But their visual acuity is not quite equal to humans in bright light. And I was very interesting to read this when I did my research because I have, of course, a lot of cats, and part of our home here at the Crown House, we have pretty much the length of most of our house in the back is what we call the sun porch. And that's where they spend a large part of their day. And it is nothing but windows for 3 sides. It's against, there's the wall of the house, and then there's 3 sides of windows. The whole, 30 feet of it or whatever it is nothing but black glass windows. And they love those windows when it's a nice sunny day, especially when we have cold temperatures at night or whatever. When the sun comes out, they are on those windows, and that's where they nap. But I just noticed they don't really have their eyes open. When they're in that bright sunlight, they close their eyes. Whether they're really sleeping or not, I'm not sure, but they have their eyes closed. I can't even recall seeing a cat on a bright sunny window looking out at something on the window, unless something's got their attention, but it doesn't usually happen. They do watch, however, outside a lot for birds and other things happen in the yard, but it's not in the bright sun. When the angle leaves those windows and it's not directly causing that much brightness, they're very observant of what's going on in their environment. It's just at those times when it is so bright that they avert their eyes. They really avert their eyes. They don't see well, so there's no reason for them to look. Beyond their functionality, cats' eyes can hold a deeper meaning. They're often associated with mystery, intuition, and independence. The gaze of a cat can be truly mesmerizing and can convey many emotions such as curiosity or playfulness to alertness or even aggression. Many people, particularly witches, I have to say, believe that cats have a sixth sense, that they're able to see things somehow that we cannot see normally, things that are normally invisible to humans. That makes their eyes, in our minds, a window to something beyond our understanding. Now, there's a lot of discussion whether cats can be familiars or not. I am of the school that most cats are merely our companions. They are really not technically familiars, and I know that really crushes a lot of witches, and I'm not going to crush you. If you want to consider your cat to be a familiar, you're welcome to do so. But if you look and do some research on what the definition, really, the true definition of a familiar is, you might realize that maybe your cat is not a familiar, but merely a companion. And that doesn't mean anything less of your cat, because your cat can be very much a part of your magical life. But I'm not going to only speak from my research. I'm going to speak from my personal experience. Remember, I'm a crone. I've been around since the beginning of time, right? Are cats merely pets, or are they more? Well, during the time since the good man and I married in 1972, we have had 22 cats as permanent residents of our home. Of course, not at the same time, but we've been married for well over 50 years, so that's a lot of years and a lot of cats, okay? Now, in that number, I'm not including kittens, litters of kittens that we rescued and held until they were ready for adoption. These are adult cats that have actually lived. And I want to point out that they have lived in the house, inside the house. So I have done nothing pretty much but observe their behavior from the time we wake in the morning to the time we go to sleep. I don't really know what they would do in the wild because they really have not had the opportunity since they came to live with me to be in the wild. So I don't know. I'm only speaking for cats in the house, where it's a good opportunity to really observe what your cats do. Okay. But during that time, we also had 8 dogs. Now, cats and dogs, do they get along? Well, yes, they do. They do get along. We love them all the same, just like you love, if you have children, how you love your children all the same. They are unique, each unique in their own way, but they're also very special in different ways, in many different ways. And that's what I want to address here today. Since we began the discussion here talking about the cat's eye, I want to point out some differences that I have noticed, and these are based on research as well, between a cat's eye and maybe a dog's eye, or behavior between a cat and a dog, some kind of behavior that maybe includes their eyes, what they notice in their environment. First of all, cats blink their eyes as a way to communicate with both other cats and with humans. And there is something called slow blinking, which is often a sign of trust and affection. Now, what we mean by slow blinking is just a gradually small closing of the eye and then opening it back up. And if you ever look at a cat, you might see this behavior in them. They might look at you and they might give you a slow blink. But more importantly, I have found, since I have rescued quite a few stray and maybe even leaning towards feral cats, including the kittens that I have right now, they're pretty feral. And their mother was pretty feral. I don't think she was always feral, but she really is very slow to trust human beings. She's gone to trust the good man and I. They trust us pretty much. They're getting a little better at it, but they still are very suspicious, we want to say, of other people that come into the house. Now, one of the things I did to win them over is when they attempted, the kittens particularly, when they attempted to make eye contact with me, when they were holding my gaze, I would give them a slow blink. Slowly closing, slowly opening. So that they would get the message that I am not a threat to them. I don't mean any harm. I'm calm. I'm trying to communicate that I have really, they can trust me. Okay, they can trust me. Now, cats, also with their blink, if they do rapid blinking, like they're rapidly blinking or looking around, or you do that with them, sometimes they do that when they're in stress or when they're in pain and discomfort in a way. People might do that too, right? So that's a good way to gauge how your cat might be feeling. So pay attention to the blink. Okay. Now, another thing I want to say is here when we're talking about the blinking, cats seem to seek out eye contact with humans, maybe even other cats. They seek them out. And I have a lot of pictures of my kittens doing that, or when I wake up in the morning, sometimes when they were really first brought into, be allowed in our bedroom, for instance, when they thought I was asleep and it was dark and everybody was still, they would sneak up onto the bed. But at the first sign of movement, they would run. They would run and hide under the bed or whatever they did because they didn't trust us enough. What might we be trying to do to them, they weren't sure. Okay, so, but as they increase their trust, as we increase the trust, and then we became the point where I could slowly pet them a little bit. When I'm in the bed, I could pet them, and they would like that. They would really like that. I would get up in the bed, and they would often stay in the bed. They would stay, but they would wake up and they would look at me. And they were watching me, and they were deliberately looking into my eyes, deliberately making contact with my gaze. Their gaze, my gaze. Dogs, however, and I think people know this, a lot of people know this, common knowledge, they interpret somebody staring them in the eye maybe as a threat or an act of aggression. Now, if it's your own dog and your own pet, a shorter, softer gaze with your pet is fine, right in the eye-to-eye contact. That's fine with your dogs. They're okay, especially when you're training them. That's a really good way because you're trying to exert dominance over them when you're training. But it's a different thing. And you meet a strange dog coming at you or coming down the street looking at you. Do not, especially if they're alone, do not try to stare them down. Look away, because they usually consider that a sign of aggression. Okay, so where cats look to see, make a judgment on who you are by looking in your eyes, dogs can consider that a threat. At any rate, a dog, even your own dog, if you pay attention, if you try to stare at them, stare down, they will look away. If they consider you to be their pack leader, they will look away. Eventually. You'll be able to stare them down pretty easily. Which you shouldn't do. That's something that they are very uncomfortable with, so I would not do that. Okay. Now, another point about dogs and cats, dogs tend to be very loyal. And I think it's a well-known fact, just like abused children, abused dogs are loyal to the person who takes care of them. They're loyal to their owner. They're loyal to who feeds them, whatever. They form that idea that that person is in charge of them. Even if they hurt them, they're in charge of them and they're submissive to them, usually. Okay, cats on the other hand, cats tend to be independent unless they choose not to be. You can feed a cat for 12 years and be its caregiver, 100% caregiver. Feed it, give it its water, take care of it, lives in your home, okay? And that cat, if they don't like you or they don't trust you, they will wait a day and a half or longer if it's necessary in order for them to eat the food that you put out of the dish if you're still there in the room. They normally wait for you to go away, walk away, until they will eat. Now, I have a good example of this. My daughter used to come and feed the cats for us when we were away, anytime we went away. And we had one cat who had been a feral cat, and she lived with us for I don't know how many years, many, many, many years. And she was kind of tame, but never really completely tame. And my daughter would come to feed her, and she did that I don't know how many times to feed all the cats and to make sure their water was fresh, clean the boxes, whatever. And she never saw this cat. It used to be a joke with her, like she says, Are you sure? I've never seen this cat. What? You keep talking about this cat. I've never seen her. Where is she? Because she never came out. And if we were until she was gone, then she came out and ate. Now, dogs also navigate their world with their keen sense of smell. When you take a dog out on a walk, and then you're always smelling, most people think, oh, they're looking for something to eat, or they're whatever they're doing, they're looking. They're actually reading text messages, if you will, dog text messages that have been left there by other dogs who have passed through and have done their visits, or maybe urinated there or whatever. They have left messages, some kind of messages for other dogs. That's one way they communicate. We know their sense of smell is so keen. The police have used them for many, many, many years to help them find missing persons. They also use them to find people who are injured or worse. Okay, we've seen that happen during some disasters, particularly earthquakes and things like that. But the cats, they navigate their world by sight. And one way you can see this, if you keep your cats indoors all the time, you will see it. When they go to judge whether they can make a leap from one place to another, or they judge, can I jump from here up high to this? It is always they look at it a long time. You can see them staring, and they're gauging the degree of their success, their potential success in doing so. And another thing is, cats do not, and this is this is my one regret about, I have the cat's eye tarot that I have talked about several times on this channel as being a cat deck that I really do like. One thing I do not like is the picture of the I think it is the devil card, where the cat is being fed with his face to the wall. Cats hate that. They are constant. If you put a cat's dish next to a wall and the cat has to face the wall rather than, looking into the room, they're looking behind them. They don't know what's there. They're very uncomfortable eating. They'll take a bite, they'll look. They'll take a bite, they'll look. They'll take a bite, they'll look. They're constantly looking behind them to make sure there's nothing coming. They're scouting their surrounding with their eyes constantly. A dog, however, well, you can put that food anywhere. You can put the food behind the toilet, and they're going to eat it. But yes, if there's a noise, a sharp noise, or a strong movement or something, quick movement behind them, they might notice. Doesn't mean they're going to stop eating, but they're going to maybe notice that. But other than that, they're focusing in on the food. Okay. The next point I want to make in this video, and I cannot leave this video until I make this point. Black cats do not hold special rank when it comes to witchcraft. I'm going to say that again, because I mean it. Black cats do not hold special rank when it comes to witchcraft. Oh my, isn't that the stereotype of a witch's cat is always black? It's always a black cat. Black cats are so magical. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we've heard it. We've seen the history. We've seen the movies. We've seen the TV shows. We've seen it all. We've seen the little Pinterest things. But I want to tell you, of the 22 cats that have resided in my home here at the Crone House, only 8 of them were black. Several of these lived a great part of their lives, however, tucked under a bed or perched high in a cupboard, far, far from the madding crowd, as the movie said, or if you're too young to know what that is, away from all the hustle and bustle of the life here at the Crone House. They weren't so interested in magic. They were interested in their own thing, what was going on, and staying out of trouble, staying out of the way. We've had tabbies. We've had grays. We've had yellow. We've had tuxedo. We've had some torties. And we've even had several pure white cats, one of which had blue eyes and who was, yes, deaf. That's a good sign. When a white cat has blue eyes, they're usually deaf. They all held a certain mystery with varying interests in our magic, and yes, they even helped to amplify our connection to the unseen world. They maybe, yes, did see things we do not see. They maybe could alert us when an earthquake was coming if we paid enough attention to them. They didn't hold up signs. They weren't chicken little going, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. They were like, they would jump and go into the bed or whatever, and then we knew what's going on. Something was maybe going on. They all had that same instinctive gift. But I have to say that Crone House is home and has been home to two witches and their magical companions. They're magical companions. So don't even get me started on our chickens. Did I ever talk to you about the magic of chickens? But regardless of the color of your cat, it doesn't matter, or even their eye color, which that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other subject. Each cat holds its own place in your magical life, regardless of their color. Please do not diminish the gifts that are offered by cats that are not black. I just happen to have had 8 black cats. They found me. They found me. You saw how they found me. They found me. I don't know, but all my cats pretty much found me. Okay, they were the ones in need for me at the time. Okay, that's just the way we put it. So now I'm at the end of the video, and I'm going to tell you, where is the magic in these cats? Is it in their eyes, their magical eyes? Is it in the color of their fur? Is it in the color of their eyes? No, I don't think it is. But I want to say, I use magic, and I use cat magic all the time in my practice. All that time. And if you have been watching me for how many years, 13 years, or how many I've been on here at YouTube, you know that. You have seen me use it. I don't necessarily use the cat. The cats can accompany me. The cats sometimes come to ritual. The cats sometimes attend me when I'm doing a reading, or I'm just looking at cards, or making some concoction. They're curious. Cats are curious, and they like to be a part often of what we do. I use my cats in other ways magically. And I have talked about that many times on this channel. I use 3 different things I get from a cat all the time. First of all, I use their fur. I don't cut their fur, but I brush my cats from time to time, and the fur that is collected in their grooming brush, I will save and use. Sometimes they shed, or patches of their hair. I've had quite a few long hair cats, and they tend to really shed more in like clumps of hair or whatever. And when I find that, I save that and I use it in a lot of different spells. I never cut it. I never take anything from a cat ever that has not been given to me. Cats will give these things to me. I do not take them. Okay. So I use the fur. I use their cat claws. I have talked about that so many times in so many different videos about how I use their claws. And the reason I use the claws is because the one trait about a cat claw, you can't always see it, but it is there when they need to use it. Cats keep their claws inside, right? Little pads. But when they need it for something, need to hold something, grab something, take something, hurt something, scrap something, protect themselves, whatever, the claws come out. They're there, but you don't always see them. And that's a wonderful thing to have in spells. That's a very wonderful ingredient for a lot of different kinds of spells. I do clip their nails when I can, because they will destroy your house if you don't. But again, I have a lot of things that I have around them for them to scratch on. Scratching posts or things they can climb or whatever. And they will leave the little covering of the claw behind. And I have even showed you what that looks like on some of my other videos. If you have cats, you very well know what it looks like, okay? And I collect them and put them in a little jar. Okay? I don't really use the ones when I trim their claws. I don't use those. I just use the ones that they have given me. One of the most magical items that a cat can give you for purposes of your magic is a whisker. Now, cats do not normally, they don't shed whiskers all the time. It's very rare for them to really, they do sometimes, but it's mostly they come off from something. Like if they play too hard, or they're in a problem, or they're stressed, or they're anxious, or whatever, they will drop a whisker. But they have a lot of whiskers, and they will grow them back. It's no big thing. But when you find one, I would collect it, and I always collect. I have a little jar, a little tall, thin jar that I keep my cat whiskers in. Okay? And I use them for so many different kinds of spells. And I'm going to tell you, it's hard. I don't have enough time in this video to talk to you about it. But I do have a lot in my book of shadows, and I'm going to be sharing those things. That's one of the first things I'm going to share, I think, on my Patreon channel. I've talked about my Patreon page that's going to come up in. I pretty much have a date. I think it's going to be around Beltane. I think it's going to be Beltane, the beginning of May. Now, yes, that's 2 months away, but I want to have that when I want people to sign up for Patreon, my Patreon. I want them to be some stuff there for them to see. I don't want them to sign up and go, "Where's the stuff? Where's your stuff?" I want you to be able to see some things right away and keep some things that you won't see maybe in the same way here on my channel. So yes, you can stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, you can do your own research. You can think of, your cats. You can, of course, look in my old videos. I'm sure I have some things. But the one thing I want to say about even particularly the cat whiskers, do not ever buy them. If somebody is offering them for sale, if you have cats, you know how often they drop their whiskers, which is not very often. In order for people to sell those whiskers, how do you think they're getting them? Not in a humane way, I am sure. We don't harvest these things from our pets. They're our pets. We don't take, even when I do spells with my own hair, it's hair that I've collected off of my hairbrush. It's not hair that I pulled from my head. So why would I pull a whisker off of my cat? That's just not done. It's not done. Do not do that. Okay? Um, it's something that's given naturally, given to you. So do not ever pay for something like that. Do not ever take it yourself. Do not. Now, if you don't have a cat and you're interested in using things like cat whiskers or cat claws, you might have a friend who has a cat who does not use them for spells. And you can ask them to keep an eye out for these things and maybe ask them if they will hold them for you. There's no reason you can't do that. Cats are magical to us when magic is a part of our life. They're a part of our life, so they're a part of our magical life, if that makes any sense. You can't expect a cat to be magical if your life is not magical. Like I always say, if you are not practicing your craft, there's really no place for that cat to be in there magically. They're just going to be a pet. There's nothing wrong with that. But once you start using what's in your environment for your own magic, you'll be surprised at what you have already available to you that will just make your magic that much stronger. Thank you so much for watching me. I wish to see you again very soon. I'm trying really hard to get videos up faster so you can count on me a little better. But in the meantime, I'm Rebecca at the Crone House here. I'm the good wife of the Crone House, and I wish you blessings.